let's talk about how to elevate your emotions using one simple technique that is so overlooked and rarely spoken of, but yet to me, it's arguably one of the most powerful. So we're going to talk about that in a moment. To let you know who I am, I'm Dr. Jay Kavanaugh of The Vibe Mindset. I help people elevate their emotions and activate their imagination to create the reality that they want. And using those two tools, imagination and emotion, is one of the most powerful resources that you already have within you. But very few of us tap into the power of it. So let's get into it. So one of the things or the tools that we often don't use, or maybe even call it a perspective that we don't take, is that the label that we place or the meaning that we place on events in our life that have an emotional charge to them is one of the biggest opportunities we have to free ourselves from feeling lower vibration emotions. So let me explain. Let's say, for example, you go through a breakup. Now you go through that breakup and obviously, even if let's say, for example, it came out of the blue and you're not sure why the breakup happened. You thought things were going well. You were kind of sideswiped on this. Who knows? Either way, you start to go through the natural process of placing a meaning on why, like postulating, hypothesizing, making up ideas as to why this relationship ended. And so in doing that process, or in the middle of that process, what we often do by mistake is we tend to put more of the blame on ourselves than the other person. Now, this isn't everyone. There are certainly some people that don't accept responsibility. But as a general statement, more often we're to take the blame ourselves and place on ourselves. And so when we do that, think about that. If, for example, I go through a breakup and I place the emotion of blame with lower vibration emotion, and I attach that as the meaning to the breakup or the reason for the breakup. In other words, my ex-girlfriend broke up with me because I wasn't fit enough. I wasn't attractive enough. I wasn't around enough. I didn't make her laugh enough. I didn't make enough money. Okay, whatever it is, right? These are all things that may or may not be true. However, if this is the label and the meaning I place on the breakup, then what I do when I do that is I actually have an emotional tag that goes along with that. So what's that emotional tag look like? Well, it's the emotional tag of blame. It's a lower vibration emotion. It's maybe a little bit of an embarrassment that I wasn't making as much money as maybe she was. So there's these lower vibration emotions that are attached to this event that took place. However, they're based on postulations. They're based on predictions, assumptions that are being made by me. Now, they may not be based on fact. Now, let's think for a moment. Let's say that this woman, in fact, broke up with me because she had her own emotional baggage. She had some things that were challenging her that she hadn't quite addressed yet. She maybe wasn't even sure if she was into men anymore. There's plenty of ways that we can look at what may have actually happened and what may have factored in to the breakup or the event that we have now labeled. So now let's say that we were to know that it wasn't you and it wasn't something that you should be blaming yourself for. Well, now all of a sudden, if it's something different and it's out of your control and it's not something you did, now all of a sudden you could look at that relationship and perhaps choose a different perspective, such as, I did everything I could to make her happy. I'm 100% sure I gave this woman my heart and I did the best I could to make it work. I fought till the end. I never gave up. Matter of fact, we went to therapy for 3 years, and even though I felt like maybe things weren't changing, I never gave up. Okay, so what level of emotion or vibrational tag, if you will, would you place on that same event through this unique, different perspective? Okay, now all of a sudden you'd say, well, hey, it's not that lower vibration of guilt, embarrassment, shame, blame down here. Now we raise it up a little bit. And now it's like, hey, I tried. I did my best. I gave 100% of my heart, 100% of myself. I made sacrifices. So now all of a sudden, when you think back on that breakup, instead of having that negative lower vibe emotion, you've now elevated that emotion to a higher level, because now when you think back on the breakup and you go to that family reunion and someone says, hey, how's she been? How's she been? Well, all I can say is this. I tried my best. I put 100% effort into it. And you know what? I'm proud of the fact that I stuck with it as long as I did. And I'm happy that I did that. Okay. That's your emotional state. It's a much better place to be than, well, I don't know. I mean, maybe it was because I wasn't making enough money. I don't know. I just didn't really maybe give her the time she needed. Even just imagining the difference between the two, I personally right now can feel the difference. I feel uncomfortable. My stomach actually feels a little odd just from doing that imaginary 5 seconds of imagining. And so it just goes to show the power of the labels and the emotions and this whole process and these events in our life and how important it is to gain a conscious control over being an active participant in the label that you place on an event happening. You want to challenge your perspective. You want to be very cognizant of the fact that however you choose to label that event is going to be the level or vibrational energy that you associate with that event for the rest of your life, right? When we have an event in our past, we oftentimes don't go back and revisit it and reshape that perspective on it. But we can do that. But however, wouldn't it be a more powerful strategy to just come right out of the gate saying any emotionally charged event in my life will be labeled through the lens through which I choose and through the emotional vibe that I choose, so that when I go back to that memory and back to that event in my life, that I don't have to be igniting a lower vibrational emotion. However, it can be a higher one. Challenge yourself. Think about it. Is there something that perhaps you've labeled in your past incorrectly? Maybe you labeled it based on the fact that you were in a lower vibrational state at the time of that event happening. Because think about it. If you had an event take place when you were in a lower vibrational state, that affected your mood, your behavior, your thoughts, your actions. And so you got to really take a step back and say to yourself, what meaning am I placing on things? Because it's the meaning you place. So share your thoughts below. I want to hear about this. I want to hear about your kind of ideas on this concept and this idea, because I really, truly do believe it's powerful. And so take action, be a conscious labeler. I want you to consciously be aware of the label you place on events. Even something simple, start small. If someone says they'll call you at 6, but they don't call you at 6 and it's 6:20 and they still haven't called, what does that mean? You could easily say, well, they don't respect you, they don't respect your time, they're not really the right person for you. But couldn't you also put a different label on it? Maybe they're super nervous about talking to you and they're trying to prepare to impress you because it's someone that doesn't know you that well. You get the point. Be very aware of the label you place on events in your life, and it will have a positive impact on elevating the emotions when you reflect back on that event and you relive those residual chemicals that are associated with that event, basically the emotions tied to it. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it very much. We've got 2 videos here. If you guys want to see more, we're going to work this YouTube channel here for a long time. We ain't going nowhere. So start getting familiar with the vibe mindset, because we're coming. We're going to be the next big thing in like 3 years. Thanks so much.